The emergency signal came without warning. Commander Lisa Howard was checking system reports on the bridge of the Earth Alliance ship Intrepid when all screens suddenly flashed red. A loud, pulsing alarm filled the room. Officers who had been relaxed at their stations now sat up straight, eyes wide with fear. "What is that?" Lisa asked, her voice cutting through the noise. Communications Officer Alan Brooks worked quickly at his station, his fingers flying across the control panel. His face went pale. "Commander, it's the emergency signal from New Haven Colony." His voice shook. "We haven't used this frequency since the war." Lisa felt her heart skip a beat. The Keldari War had ended 50 years ago. After the fighting stopped, humans had signed peace treaties with all the alien races in the Galactic Council. They agreed to reduce their military and promised to live peacefully. The emergency protocol was supposed to be forgotten history. "Show me," she ordered. The main screen filled with static, then cleared to show a shaky video. A man with a bloodied face appeared. Behind him, people ran in panic as walls shook and lights flickered. His voice came through broken and desperate. "This is Security Chief Ron Baker of New Haven Colony. We are under attack by unknown forces. Our defenses are failing. They came without warning or demands. Please send help immediately. They're back. I repeat, they're—" The transmission cut off. Lisa gripped the edge of her command chair. New Haven was humanity's furthest colony, home to 80,000 people. It was meant to be safe. "Analysis?" she demanded. Science Officer Peter Grant looked up from his station. "Transmission is authentic. It was sent 6 hours ago on the old emergency channel that only high-ranking military personnel should know about." Lisa made her decision. "Contact Earth Command immediately, Priority Alpha, and get me Admiral John Miller." The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Admiral Miller was a legend, a hero from the Keldari War who had retired years ago. "Admiral Miller, ma'am?" asked Alan. "You heard me," Lisa said. "This is exactly what he warned us about." 30 minutes later, Admiral Miller's weathered face appeared on the screen. His gray hair was messy, as if he had been woken from sleep. His eyes, however, were sharp and alert. "Commander Howard, I was told there's an emergency signal." "Yes, Admiral. From New Haven. They're using the old protocol." Miller's expression darkened. "Show me." After watching the transmission, Miller was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was firm with resolve. "Commander, set course for Earth immediately. Maximum speed. Sir, shouldn't we head to New Haven? They need help now." "The help they need isn't on your ship, Commander," Miller said. "It's sleeping under the lunar surface." 3 days later, Lisa stood beside Admiral Miller in a secret facility deep beneath the moon's surface. The room they were in was simple: concrete walls, old computer terminals, and a reinforced glass window that looked out over something massive hidden in shadow. With them was Colonel Gregory Parker, the military's representative to the Galactic Council. He had been arguing with Miller since they arrived. "This is insane," Parker said. "We can't just activate the Titans without Council approval. The diplomatic damage would be—" "Diplomacy is no longer our concern," Miller cut him off. "New Haven has gone dark. All attempts at communication have failed. The nearest Council response fleet is 3 weeks away. But the treaties were broken the moment New Haven was attacked," Miller said firmly. "We kept the Titans as our insurance policy. Now it's time to cash in." He turned to Lisa. "Commander Howard, you've been selected to witness this because of your service record. What you're about to see never appeared in any official document. Shared with the Galactic Council." Miller stepped up to the main console and placed his hand on a scanner. A computerized voice spoke. "Identity confirmed, Admiral John Miller. Please provide voice authorization." "Authorization, Phoenix Protocol," Miller said clearly. The room hummed as old systems came to life. Lights flashed on in sequence, illuminating what lay beyond the window. Lisa gasped. It was a ship, but unlike any she had ever seen. Over 2 miles long, its dark hull was covered with weapon systems far more advanced than what the Earth fleet currently used. Its design was aggressive and powerful, built for one purpose: war. The Nemesis, Miller said with a hint of pride. First of the War Titans. There are 11 more just like her, hidden throughout the solar system. This is impossible, Lisa whispered. The treaties required full disclosure of all military assets. The Council saw what we wanted them to see, Miller explained. After the war, humanity made a show of disarmament while secretly building the Titans. They were our failsafe if peace didn't last. Inside the massive ship, systems were coming online. Maintenance robots moved through corridors that had been silent for decades. In a special chamber at the heart of the vessel, a stasis pod hissed. Open Captain Samantha Collins took her first conscious breath in 50 years. She had gone into stasis in her prime, volunteering for a duty she hoped would never be needed. The neural link at the base of her skull connected her instantly to the ship's systems. Status report, she demanded, her voice hoarse from disuse. All systems operational, Captain, the ship's AI responded. Emergency Protocol Phoenix has been authorized. Threat assessment indicates hostile forces at New Haven Colony. 3 additional Titans are being activated: Vindication, Hellfire, and Retribution. Back in the control room, Lisa watched in awe as the Nemesis fully awakened. Its engines glowed with power that defied current engineering limits. The Titans carry technologies we've kept hidden, Miller told her. Fold space drives that can cover distances in days instead of weeks. Weapons that can shatter planets, and crews who went into stasis knowing they might wake to a galaxy at war. The massive hangar doors above began to open, revealing the stars. On Earth, civilians and military personnel alike stopped to watch as the lunar surface split open. Official. Channels buzzed with confused reports as something enormous rose from the moon. What happens now? Lisa asked. Now, Miller said as the Nemesis moved toward the stars. Humanity shows its true face, and whoever attacked New Haven learns why waking sleeping giants is always a mistake. In orbit, civilian ships scattered as the Nemesis emerged fully. 3. More massive vessels were rising from hidden bases across the solar system. The War Titans had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Samantha Collins stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, watching Earth grow smaller on the view screen. Her body felt strange after 50 years in stasis. Her muscles worked perfectly thanks to the medical systems that had prevented decay, but her mind still struggled to accept that half a century had passed while she slept. Status report, she ordered, her voice stronger now after a few hours awake. All systems functioning at optimal levels, Captain, replied her second-in-command, Major Frank Morris. He had also been in stasis, one of the 300 crew members chosen for this mission decades ago. The other Titans have confirmed readiness. Vindication, Hellfire, and Retribution are moving into formation. Samantha nodded. 4 War Titans. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. They had been built during humanity's darkest hours, when defeat in the Keldari War seemed certain. Prepare the Fold space drive, she ordered. The crew worked with practiced efficiency despite their long sleep. The neural links they shared with the ship's systems helped them remember their training. These links were now banned by the Galactic Council, considered too invasive. But the Titans had been built before those rules existed. Drive charged and ready, reported Engineering Officer Lucy Daniels. Coordinates for New Haven locked in. All ships prepare for Fold space jump, Samantha announced over the fleet channel. We'll arrive in Battle Formation Delta, on the main. Viewing screen, the other 3 Titans moved into position. Each was slightly different in design, built for complementary roles. The Vindication specialized in defense, Hellfire in planetary bombardment, and Retribution in ship-to-ship combat. Together with the all-purpose Nemesis, they formed a complete battle group. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into lines of light, then vanished completely as the ships entered Fold space. The journey to New Haven would take 7 days instead of the months required by conventional drives. During the journey, Samantha studied all available data on the current state of the galaxy. Much had changed in 50 years. New races had joined the Galactic Council. Borders had shifted, Technologies had advanced in some areas, though nothing compared to what the Titans carried. The Council believes we've been compliant with the disarmament treaties, she told her senior officers during a briefing. They have no idea about us or our capabilities. Will they consider us enemies when they find out? Asked Weapons Officer Rick Patel. Perhaps, Samantha admitted. But right now, saving New Haven is our priority. Politics comes later. 7 days passed quickly. The crew trained and prepared for what they might find. The ship's AI ran constant simulations based on the limited information they had. Exiting. Fold space in 30 seconds, announced the navigation officer. Samantha straightened in her command chair. Battle stations. Shields at maximum. Weapons hot but hold fire until my command. The blackness of fold space gave way to normal space. With a flash of light, immediately the sensors came alive with warnings. Multiple hostile ships detected, reported the tactical officer. 63 vessels surrounding New Haven. Samantha leaned forward. Show me. The screen displayed the planet. New Haven, once a beautiful blue-green world. Now parts of its surface glowed red with fire. Around it circled alien ships unlike any in their database. They were not Keldari vessels as many had feared. These were something new. Organic-looking craft that pulsed with eerie light. Scan those ships. What are we dealing with? Science Officer Eric Martinez worked quickly at his station. They appear to be biomechanical in nature. Part grown, part built. Energy readings are off the charts. They're bombarding the planet's surface with some kind of plasma weapons. Life signs on the planet. Detecting approximately 20,000 human life. Signs concentrated in the underground mining facilities. Surface structures are almost completely destroyed. Samantha's hands tightened on the arms of her chair. 80,000 people had lived in the colony. 60,000 were already gone. Open a channel to the alien fleet, she ordered. Communications Officer Dana Wells shook her head after trying. No response, Captain. They're ignoring our hails. What about the other Titans? All present and reporting ready for action, Captain. Samantha stood up. Then we make them notice us. Target the nearest alien vessel. Single shot from the main. Cannon. The Nemesis hummed as energy gathered in its forward section. The main cannon was a marvel of engineering, designed to pierce any known shield technology. Firing, announced Rick Patel. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Nemesis, crossing the space to the nearest alien ship in an instant. The vessel didn't explode. It simply came apart, splitting into pieces as if cut by a knife. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate. Ships began breaking off from their bombardment of the planet, turning to face the new threat. They're responding, reported Tactical. Multiple vessels moving to attack positions. Energy signatures indicate weapons charging. All Titans, execute. Battle Plan Delta, Samantha ordered over the fleet channel. Protect the colony at all costs. The 4 war Titans moved with surprising grace for their size. The Vindication positioned itself between the aliens and the planet, its specialized shields glowing as it prepared to absorb attacks. The Hellfire began targeting alien ships that were still bombarding the surface. The Retribution moved aggressively toward the main concentration of enemy vessels. The first alien attack came in the form of glowing projectiles that hurtled toward the Titans. The point defense systems activated automatically, destroying most of them before they could hit. Analysis. Of their weapons? Samantha asked. Some kind of plasma-based technology, Eric reported. Powerful, but our shields are holding. Return fire. All weapon systems. The space around New Haven lit up as the Titans unleashed their arsenal. Laser arrays, kinetic projectiles, and guided missiles struck the alien fleet. Several more enemy ships exploded or drifted dead in space. They're focusing fire on the Vindication, reported Frank. Samantha watched as dozens of alien vessels concentrated their attack on the defensive Titan. The Vindication's shields glowed brightly as they absorbed the energy. Vindication reports shields at 60% and holding, Dana announced. Captain Olivia Reeves requests permission to activate the Aegis system. Granted, Samantha replied. The Vindication's hull opened in several places, revealing strange devices that hadn't been active in decades. Energy pulses shot out, creating a web-like pattern that expanded to cover a large area between the ship and the planet. "What is that?" asked a young officer who had joined them from the modern fleet. "The Aegis system," Frank explained. "It creates a defensive field that can protect an entire planet. Technology the Council banned after the war, too powerful, they said." On the view screen, the alien ship's weapons fire was now being absorbed by the energy web, leaving the planet safe from further bombardment. "Let's show them what else we can do," Samantha said. "All ships, advance." It's time these aliens learned why waking humanity was their biggest mistake. Below on the colony surface, survivors huddled in underground bunkers watched through monitoring systems as the night sky lit up with weapons fire. For the first time in days, they felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. The battle above New Haven raged for hours. The alien ships fought with unexpected ferocity, but they were clearly surprised by the power of the Titans. They had come expecting to find an easy target. Instead, they found humanity's hidden strength. "Status report," Captain Samantha Collins demanded, gripping her chair as the nemesis shook from a direct hit. "Shields holding at 72%, reported Engineering Officer Lucy Daniels. "Minor damage to the outer hull in sections 5 and 6. Repair drones are responding." "What about the other Titans?" Major Frank Morris checked the fleet status display. "All operational. Vindication is maintaining the Aegis shield protecting the colony. Hellfire has destroyed 27 enemy vessels. Retribution has disabled 12 and is attempting to capture one." Samantha raised an eyebrow. "Capture?" "Captain Andrew Reynolds of the Retribution believes we need to take prisoners for questioning," Frank explained. "He's using tractor beams to secure a damaged enemy ship." "Good thinking," Samantha agreed. "We need to know who these attackers are and why they targeted New Haven." On the main screen, the battle was clearly turning in humanity's favor. The alien ships were now trying to retreat, breaking away in groups and accelerating away from the planet. The Titans pursued, their weapons cutting through the escaping vessels with precision. "Captain," called Science Officer Eric Martinez from his station, "I'm detecting unusual readings from the planet's surface. There's some kind of energy signature coming from the main colony site." "Show me," Samantha ordered. The screen switched to a view of the colony's central dome, or what remained of it. Once a gleaming structure housing the colony's government and main living areas, it was now a shattered ruin. But from the center of the destruction, a faint blue light pulsed. "That's the emergency beacon building," Eric said. "It's still standing, and there's someone activating equipment inside." "Open a channel," Samantha ordered. Communications Officer Dana Wells worked at her console. "Channel open." "This is Captain Samantha Collins of the War Titan Nemesis. We are responding to your emergency signal. Is anyone receiving this transmission?" The screen flickered, then showed the inside of a damaged room. A woman in a torn uniform stood before the camera. Her face was dirty and one arm was bandaged, but her eyes showed fierce determination. "This is Colonel Mary Winters, New Haven Defense Force. Thank God you received our signal." Her voice was steady despite her appearance. "We weren't sure if anyone would come." "We received your distress call," Samantha said. "We're here now. What's your situation?" "Critical. We have approximately 20,000 survivors in the deep mining tunnels and emergency bunkers. Most of our surface structures are destroyed. We've been under attack for 9 days." Mary paused, taking a shaky breath. "These aliens, they came without warning. No demands, no communication attempts, they just started bombing our cities." "Do you know who they are?" Mary shook her head. "No official identification. Some of our scientists think they might be Vrax, a species from the outer reaches that the Council classified as a rumor." She laughed bitterly. "Guess they're not a rumor after all." Samantha exchanged glances with Frank. The Vrax were indeed little more than stories, unconfirmed reports of a biomechanical species that kept to the galactic edges. "Colonel, we're sending landing craft with medical supplies and emergency rations," Samantha said. "We'll establish a secure perimeter and begin evacuation procedures. Thank you, Captain, but there's something else you should know. Mary's expression darkened. Before the attack, we detected unusual communication patterns. Several council diplomats who were visiting our colony left suddenly, just hours before the first Vrax ships appeared. You're suggesting council involvement? Samantha's voice was cold. I'm saying the timing is suspicious. And there's more. Our defensive shield codes were compromised. The shields failed exactly when the attack began, with no signs of being overwhelmed. They were deactivated from within. Samantha felt anger rising in her chest. The Galactic Council had been formed after the Keldari War to ensure peace between species. If council members were involved in this attack, it meant betrayal on a massive scale. We'll investigate these claims, she promised. For now, focus on keeping your people safe. Help is coming. After ending the transmission, Samantha called her senior officers together. What we just heard changes things, she told them. If council races are involved in this attack, we might be looking at a wider conspiracy. Why target New Haven? Asked Weapons Officer Rick Patel. It's a resource colony, yes, but not strategically vital. Resources might be exactly the reason, said Eric. New Haven sits on one of the richest deposits of rare elements in this sector, elements needed for advanced technology. Lucy nodded, in agreement. The colony's mining output has tripled in the last decade. That kind of resource wealth creates temptation. And using the Vrax as proxies would give them deniability, Frank added. If the attack failed, they could deny any connection. If it succeeded, they could move in later as peacekeepers and take control of the mines. Samantha made her decision. We need to activate the diplomatic package. The officers fell silent. The diplomatic package was one of the War Titan's most classified features. A specialized intelligence gathering system designed to uncover the truth behind conflicts. It could hack secure networks, intercept private communications, and penetrate the most protected databases. That would mean directly spying on council members, Dana said quietly. It would violate every diplomatic agreement Earth has signed. They violated the peace first, Samantha replied firmly. If they're behind this attack, we need to know. She turned to Frank. Contact Captain Reynolds. Tell him his mission to capture a Vrax ship just became top priority. We need prisoners who can verify any connection to council races. What about Earth Command? Lucy asked. Shouldn't we consult with Admiral Miller before activating the package? We'll inform them of our decision, but we can't wait for authorization, Samantha said. The Titans were created with autonomous mission parameters for exactly this reason, so we could act decisively when needed. On the view screen, the Retribution had successfully captured a damaged Vrax vessel. Tractor beams held it steady as boarding craft approached. The Retribution reports they've secured the alien ship, Dana announced. Captain Reynolds is leading the boarding party himself. Tell him to be careful, Samantha said. We need answers, more than we need bodies. Below on the planet's surface, the first relief ships were landing near the emergency bunkers. Medical teams rushed to help the injured colonists. Security forces established defensive positions in case of another attack. As night fell on New Haven, survivors emerged from hiding to see the massive shapes of the War Titans hanging in the sky above them, dark guardians that had come from the past to secure their future. But for Captain Collins and her crew, the true fight was just beginning. If allies had become enemies, the galaxy was about to learn why humanity had created the War Titans, and why waking them was a terrible mistake. Lieutenant Olivia Bennett moved carefully through the damaged halls of New Haven's central government building. Debris crunched under her boots, and emergency lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. As the intelligence specialist for the Nemesis, she had been sent to the surface with a team to recover data from the colony's systems. This way, said her guide, a young colony security officer named Joe Nash. The main server room is 2 levels down. It has its own power supply and heavy shielding. If any data survived, it will be there. They descended a stairwell since the elevators were not working. The lower level was darker, lit only by their flashlights and the occasional emergency light. Water dripped from damaged pipes in the ceiling. How long had you been stationed here? Olivia asked as they walked. 3 years, Joe replied, his voice tight with emotion. New Haven was supposed to be safe, a model colony. We were so far from disputed territories, nobody thought we'd be a target. They reached a massive door marked Central Data Repository, authorized personnel only. Joe placed his hand on a scanner, and after a few seconds, the door unlocked, with a heavy click. Security systems are still working, he noted with surprise. Inside, rows of servers hummed quietly. Unlike the destruction above, this room was mostly intact. Olivia immediately went to the main terminal and connected a device from her pack. This is a data harvester from the Nemesis, she explained. It will copy everything and decrypt any protected files. As the device worked, Olivia explored the room, checking other terminals. At a communication station, something caught her eye. A log of transmissions sent in the days before the attack. Joe, look at this, she called. These are diplomatic communications between the colony governor and several council representatives. Joe looked over her shoulder as she scrolled through the logs. That's strange. Why would Ambassador Keel of the Solari Dominion request our shield maintenance schedule? Olivia's eyes narrowed. And here, Ambassador Vex of the Tresh Confederacy asked for a tour of the mining operation security systems just 2 days before the attack. Those visits seemed routine at the time, Joe said slowly. We get council diplomats regularly because of our resource production. Olivia continued reading. All 3 visiting diplomats left on the same transport, 24 hours before the first Vrax ships appeared. She looked up at Joe. That's not a coincidence. Her data harvester beeped, indicating it had finished its work. Olivia disconnected it and carefully stored it in her pack. We need to get this back to the ship immediately, she said. When they returned to the Nemesis, Olivia went straight to the bridge. Captain Collins was in a holographic meeting with Captain Reynolds of the Retribution, discussing the captured Vrax ship. Captain, Olivia said urgently, I found something you need to see. Samantha paused the conversation with Reynolds. Go ahead, Lieutenant. I recovered data from the colony's servers, including communications with council representatives, before the attack. Olivia connected her harvester to a console, displaying her findings on the main screen. 3 diplomats from the Solari Dominion, Tresh Confederacy, and Axios Collective all requested unusual information about colony defenses, then left just before the attack. Captain Collins studied the data, her expression darkening. This supports Colonel Winter's suspicions. There's more, Olivia continued. I found the shield system logs. The colony's defensive shields weren't overcome by the Virax. They were shut down using an administrator override code. A code that was only shared with council security networks for emergency response coordination. Silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. Captain Reynolds, Samantha said, turning back to the hologram. What have you learned from the captured Vrax ship? The image of Captain Andrew Reynolds appeared grim. We've secured 5 Vrax prisoners. Their biology is unusual, part organic, part mechanical. Their ship's computers contained navigation data showing they came from the far reaches beyond council space. Have they said anything useful? Samantha asked. Their language is difficult, but our translation systems are making progress. One of them, possibly an officer, mentioned something interesting. They referred to the arrangement and council payment several times. Samantha's jaw tightened. So they were hired. It appears so, Reynolds agreed. We're still interrogating them, but their ship's logs show direct communication with vessels registered to the Solari Dominion 6 days before the attack. Samantha stood, addressing her officers. This evidence confirms our worst fears. This wasn't a random attack, it was a coordinated strike planned with council involvement. But why? Asked Frank. The council has peaceful relations with Earth. Peace doesn't always serve everyone's interests, Samantha replied. New Haven's resources have become increasingly valuable, and humanity's expansion might be seen as a threat by some council races. What do we do now? Lucy asked. We activate the full diplomatic package, Samantha decided. Lieutenant Bennett, you'll coordinate with our intelligence teams. I want every communication between these 3 council races for the past year analyzed. Yes, Captain, Olivia replied. Major Morris, Contact Earth Command. Inform Admiral Miller of our findings and request authorization to wake the remaining Titans. Frank looked shocked. All of them? That would be perceived as a declaration of war. If 3 council races conspired to attack a human colony, the war has already begun, Samantha said firmly. We just didn't know it until now. The message, to Earth, was sent through secure channels that couldn't be intercepted by council technology. 6 hours later, the response came directly from Admiral Miller. Authorization granted, Miller's message stated. The remaining 8 Titans are being awakened. Proceed with full activation of the diplomatic package. Earth is calling an emergency. Council session in 3 weeks. We need irrefutable evidence by then. Over the next days, the Titans' intelligence systems worked at full capacity. The diplomatic package, a combination of advanced AI systems and specialized hacking tools, penetrated the most secure networks of the Solari, Tresh, and Axios governments. What they found confirmed their suspicions: detailed plans for the attack, on New Haven, financial transfers to Vrax intermediaries, and discussions about claiming the colony's resources once the human population was eliminated. On the planet below, recovery efforts continued. The 20,000 survivors were being cared for, but the loss of 60,000 lives weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Captain Collins stood at the viewport in her quarters, looking down at the damaged world. A soft chime announced a visitor. Enter, she called. Lieutenant Bennett came in carrying a datapad. Captain, we've completed our analysis. The evidence is conclusive. All 3 implicated council races were involved in planning and financing the attack. She handed over the pad. These are communications between their highest government officials discussing the plan. Samantha reviewed the data, feeling cold anger settle in her chest. Prepare a full report for Earth Command. Include everything. We've found. There's one more thing, Captain, Olivia said hesitantly. We found mentions of other potential targets. 3 more human colonies marked for similar attacks in the coming months. Samantha looked up sharply. Then we have no time to waste. The Vrax may have been stopped here, but this conspiracy goes deeper than we thought. She turned back to the viewport, watching as a shuttle from Earth entered orbit, a diplomatic team sent to prepare for the upcoming council confrontation. The council thought they knew humanity's strength, she said quietly. They're about to learn how wrong they were. 3 weeks after the attack on New Haven, the Galactic Council gathered for an emergency session on their neutral space station. Representatives from 32 spacefaring races sat in a massive circular chamber, whispering nervously amongst themselves. The reason for their unease floated outside the station's viewing ports: 12 massive warships, the complete fleet of war titans. Each ship was positioned at a strategic location around the station, their weapon systems clearly visible. It was a show of force unprecedented in Council history. Inside the Council chamber, Admiral John Miller stood before the assembly. Behind him were the captains of all 12 Titans, including Samantha Collins. None of them wore the standard Earth Alliance uniforms. Instead, they wore the black and silver combat uniforms of the Titan fleet, uniforms that had not been seen in 50 years. This emergency session will come to order, announced the council chairperson, a tall Jurian with blue-tinted skin. Admiral Miller of Earth has requested this meeting to address serious allegations. Admiral Miller stepped forward. Despite his age, he stood straight and proud. Members of the council, he began, his voice filling the chamber. 3 weeks ago, the human colony of New Haven was attacked without warning or provocation. 80,000 people lived there. Only 20,000 survived. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Earth deeply regrets this tragedy, said the Solari representative smoothly. We understand the attackers were an unknown species from beyond, charted space. They were not unknown, Miller countered. They were the Vrax, a mercenary race hired to do the dirty work of others. The Solari representative's expression didn't change. That is merely speculation. It is fact, Miller said, firmly, and we have proof that the Vrax were not working alone. He nodded to Captain Collins, who stepped forward with a data crystal. She inserted it into the central console, and screens around the chamber lit up with images and text. "What you are seeing," Miller continued, "is evidence collected by our Titan fleet. Communications, financial transfers, and testimony from captured Vracs revealing a conspiracy between three council races: the Solari Dominion, the Tresh Confederacy, and the Axios Collective." Chaos erupted in the chamber. The accused representatives shouted denials. Other council members demanded explanations. The Solari representative rose to his feet. "This is absurd. Earth has no right to make such accusations. And what are these Titans you speak of? No such fleet exists in the registry of Earth's military assets." Miller allowed himself a small smile. "The Titans were created during the Keldari War as our final defense. When peace was established, we chose not to reveal their existence. They remained in stasis, waiting for the day they might be needed again." "This is a violation of treaty," the Tresh representative shouted. "All military assets were to be declared." "Yes," Miller agreed, "just as all diplomatic communications were to be conducted in good faith. Yet we have proof of your government's direct involvement in the attack on New Haven." Samantha stepped forward. "The evidence is irrefutable. We have decoded transmissions between your governments and the Vrax fleet. We have financial records showing payment for the attack, and most damning of all, we have the testimony of the Vrax commander who has named his employers." On the main screen, a recording played. A Vrax, its part mechanical face, expressionless, spoke in a halting voice translated by a computer. "We were contracted by the Coalition of Three. Payment was transferred through secret channels. The target was to be destroyed completely, no survivors. Resources were to be claimed afterward, divided among the three powers. This was just the first of many planned human eliminations." The chamber fell silent as the recording ended. The Axios representative, who had remained quiet until now, suddenly stood. "This proves nothing. These so-called records could be fabricated and prisoner testimony obtained under duress." "The prisoners were not mistreated," Samantha interrupted, "and the evidence speaks for itself. Your own encryption was broken by our systems." "What do you want?" asked the council chairperson cautiously. Admiral Miller addressed the full assembly again. "Justice, reparations for New Haven, and guarantees that no other human world will be targeted." "Or what?" asked the Solari representative, his voice cold. "In answer," Miller gestured to the viewing ports. Outside, all 12 Titans activated their main weapon systems simultaneously, the energy signatures clearly visible. "The Titans were built for one purpose: to ensure humanity's survival at any cost," Miller said quietly. "We hoped they would never be needed again. But now that they're awake, they will remain on active duty." Captain Collins moved to stand beside Miller. "The Vrax fleet was destroyed by just 4 Titans. Imagine what 12 could do." It wasn't said as a threat, merely a statement of fact, but everyone in the chamber understood the implications. The council chairperson called for an immediate recess. When the session resumed hours later, the atmosphere had changed dramatically. The 3 accused representatives were no longer present, replaced by more senior officials from their governments. These new representatives opened with formal apologies. "The actions taken against New Haven were not authorized by our full government," claimed the new Solari delegate. "The individuals responsible have been removed from power and will face justice." "The Tresh Confederacy offers its deepest regrets," said their representative. "We propose immediate reparations for the survivors and assistance in rebuilding." Similar statements came from the Axios representative. Admiral Miller listened to their words with a skeptical expression. When they finished, he addressed the council again. "Words are easy. Actions matter more. Earth accepts your apologies and offers of reparations, but trust has been broken. The Titans will remain active, patrolling human space. Any further aggression will be met with immediate response." The council session concluded with formal agreements for reparations and rebuilding assistance. As the Earth delegation prepared to leave, the council chairperson approached Miller privately. "Those ships," the chairperson said quietly, "they changed the balance of power in the galaxy." That was never our intention, Miller replied. Humanity joined this council in good faith. We reduced our visible military presence as a gesture of trust. That trust was violated. What happens now? Miller looked out at the Titans. Now the galaxy sees our true face. The Titans will protect our colonies. New Haven will be rebuilt under their watch. And perhaps next time, potential enemies will think twice before attacking humanity. 1 year later, a ceremony was held in the rebuilt Central Plaza of New Haven. Captain Samantha Collins stood beside Colonel Mary Winters as they unveiled a memorial to those lost in the attack. After the ceremony, Samantha looked up at the Nemesis, visible, in orbit above the colony. Do you think they'll try again? Mary asked, following her gaze. Perhaps, Samantha replied. But not soon, and when they do, we'll be ready. In the rebuilt communication center nearby, a simple plaque had been installed. On it were words that had become humanity's new diplomatic doctrine throughout the galaxy. We sleep until needed. Pray you never need to see us awake.